Night of the Living podcast is always ad-free for patrons at patreon.com/NOTLP.
Hey, welcome back to Night of the Living podcast. We're doing TV Halloween specials. I'm Freddy. Amy's in the room here with me. Andy is cozy at home, joining us through Facebook.
Yeah. And I'm being distracted because I just discovered that you can do backgrounds and effects on your camera.
Isn't that fun?
So Andy will be busy.
So if you don't hear from me for a little bit, then that's what I'm doing.
So, Andy, you picked for our main attractions this week. We're going to be doing Cat's Paw from the original Star Trek series from back in '67, which was their attempt at a Halloweeny episode, and the second episode of Over the Garden Wall, which is more modern animated series. Why'd you pick these, Andy?
Oh, first Star Trek. I've never seen any episodes of any series.
That's
of
wild.
Star Trek. And you guys talk about it all the time, and I'm surprised none of you guys have picked this already. So I'm trying to know what you guys are talking about.
It's the closest thing to a Star Trek Halloween episode that I can think of.
I mean, Next Gen. We covered a Next Gen one.
Oh, did you?
Point.
I don't remember that.
It was one about nightmares, I think. But you might not have been there that week that we were covering it, because if this is your first Star Trek episode, it's an oddball one to start your introduction to the whole series with this one, because it's such a wonky, funny, weird episode.
Yeah, is this indicative of how the series is?
Yes and
it's
no.
Not, but it's not is.
There's usually a little more movement.
That made sense.
Around sets and stuff. This one I felt like they kind of stuck you with just kind of
there were no Klingons in this episode.
One place. Yeah.
Anyway,
can't
so that's why I picked the Cat's Paw. But for Over the Garden Wall, I've never seen that either. But like I said on the previous episode of why I picked this is because you see the imagery all the time from this show of the pumpkin people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the most Halloween thing I've ever seen in my life. I should watch that.
Awesome. I can't wait to discuss them.
So we'll be getting into that.
But first.
Yeah. We're going to do them but first.
We're going to do them but first. Hashtag but first. Just call me Julie Chen Moonves. But just a friendly reminder, patreon.com/NOTLP.
Yep. We just put out Origins, which was Westworld.
Origins being our new introductions to old episodes, like very old episodes, like 2012 is where we're at right now. Yeah. And we just put out a Topicana. That'll be out on the main feed this coming Friday. But if you want it right now, and I think you do, you need to be a patron, patreon.com/NOTLP.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. By the time you listen to it, the topics will be old by then.
They are the oldest topics.
Because we talk about a lot of hot button issues.
Speaking of hot button issues, Kevin Kangas,
friend of the shoe.
He sent us, he's a publisher now, filmmaker and publisher. If you remember October Screams from, was that last year or the year before? It was an anthology he released, which was really fun. And by anthology, I mean it's a bunch of different authors that contributed pieces to the, based on the theme. In this case, the theme is clowns.
Fear of Clowns is the name.
And it's jam packed. He sent us the hardback version, and it's fun. I really
did
enjoy
he have to license the title Fear of Clowns
from himself?
From himself, because that was his movie Fear of Clowns.
Good question.
And then now the anthology is called Fear of Clowns. Is he double dipping?
It even has a little bit of illustration in it.
It's really cool.
It's a really nice copy. It's an attractive book. I haven't read the stories.
It feels good in your hands.
Just judging a book by its cover, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it came with a clown nose.
Yeah, he sent us a little care package. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to digging into that. I've been sitting on the same copy, my old paperback copy of Stephen King's Night Shift.
You've been sitting on it? You know that's not how you read.
Yeah, I read with my butt. You know what I mean? Like it's been parked there on my nightstand, and periodically I'll just read a story out of it randomly.
Yeah.
And
what was the most recent one you read?
I reread Night Surf, which is the one that's like a prequel to The Stand, where it's the kind of younger people who are enjoying, I guess, like kind of the freedom of living in the or not even post-apocalyptic, but apocalyptic setting of like an epidemic, a pandemic, it's wiped out a lot of people. And then it's about them spending, their night on the beach together. It's a good story. But yeah.
I just picked up an anthology to read called Cthulhu and Other Stories. I figured, it's been a really long time since I picked up any Lovecraft. And I felt the need this spooky season.
It's always weird the way his works are collected because they're in the public domain.
Yeah, it's who knows what version I'm reading right now, but I haven't gotten to the Call of Cthulhu yet, so
yeah,
we'll get there eventually.
Which one are you on now?
I don't know how to pronounce it. Narlo.
I always said Nyarlathotep.
Something like that.
I don't know if that's even remotely right.
That one. I just started it.
The trickster god.
Yeah.
You think Cthulhu has trouble getting people on the phone now since of voicemail and stuff like that?
I wouldn't return Cthulhu's calls. Especially
let it go straight.
You silly goose.
It's like, I don't recognize that number.
Did you see I think I sent to you guys the trailer for one of these series. It's animated Howard Lovecraft. They've tried to turn him into like a cuddly animated character.
Oh dear. That's not. No, he's not very cuddly based on what I'm reading.
No, the real Howard.
Pretty racist.
H.P. Lovecraft, was pretty hardcore racist. Also, just scared of outsiders in general.
Oh yeah, everything was just like some savagery or something weird.
He didn't like his neighbors even. I don't think like when he writes about like Red Hook in New York and all these places. It's places that I think thought he was above living in a lot of the time. But
you ain't better than me, Mr. Howard Lovecraft.
So they turned him into a cuddly like 10-year-old who in Cthulhu they've turned into basically his dog.
Oh, it's like Charlie Brown and Snoopy.
It's not good.
Was 10-year-old H.P. Lovecraft racist?
Maybe that's why they made him younger, Andy, is to so that
he
people
wasn't yet.
They'd be like, oh, it's the young Howard
pure.
Lovecraft.
Yeah. I'm sure he had some tendencies, but they weren't full blown yet.
Yeah. I think it's just weird. It's weird. It's a weird thing to take a real person and turn them into like, especially someone as problematic as H.P. Lovecraft, and turn him into a cartoon character. Right. But what are you going to do? Freddy Krueger is like a toy too, and he was a pedophile.
And I'm well aware of all the problematicness. I still think the stories are worth reading, so I'm going to take what I want and leave the rest.
They're important to the history of horror because just the influence.
Yeah.
You're not going to find anybody who wrote genre fiction after Lovecraft that doesn't really list him as an influence.
True enough.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about at the top?
No.
All right.
Let's do this.
Oh my God. Turn out lights. It's the main attraction. Space, the final frontier.
Heard of it.
1967, Andy. You went far into the past here.
Yeah. Good shit.
Yeah. It's my first episode, and it's enjoyable enough. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if this is going to be the episode that says I got to watch the rest.
Right.
But, but I had enough fun with it for what it is.
See, you've seen The Wrath of Khan, and if that wasn't enough to get you to watch, I don't know what else to do. Because that's a great movie.
I've seen like the J.J. Abrams movies. Does that count?
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course it counts. But I'm just saying like for the like deep canon. But this episode is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's Andy's first. Maybe. He might have seen something else. But really, this is his first that he remembers.
This is his first intentional viewing of Star Trek.
Yes. I mean, like, maybe I have seen them in the past, but honestly, I can't remember an episode.
This was his first memorable one. And then Robert Bloch wrote this episode. of Psycho fame. So that is very interesting.
When you look at these groups and you take people like Robert Bloch and DC Fontana, who wrote the teleplay, a lot of Star Trek is written by DC Fontana. You're also snorting like a
She
pig.
snorts like a pig. She's a dog. I swear it.
There's this group. There are a lot of these writers. They work not only on Star Trek, but they worked on The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery, and Ray Bradbury kind of pops in and out of their. Like there's great writers working on Star Trek in the 60s.
Yes, very true.
TV's best.
Yeah.
All right.
So it starts right off the bat. Who gets beamed up? They get a communication from another planet.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it's get? And
They're away team.
they said they're in trouble, and two of them get stuck on the planet, and one person gets beamed up and dies immediately. And
A red shirt who was not wearing a red shirt.
Jackson, right?
Jackson. So do they warn people before they sign up for Star Trek Academy what the dangers are? Because
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I
if you
mean-
play any of the video games and you go to Starfleet Academy, they
Yeah.
basically prepare you to die.
Yeah.
I guess that's a trope, right? That there's always one person that dies on the episode, and that's
Yeah.
not on the main cast.
Anytime you have an actor you've never seen before as a member of the crew, you're like, that person's going to die in this
Yeah.
episode.
And Amy said, when she said red shirt, Andy, that on Star Trek, there's kind of a running gag that if you're wearing a red shirt and you're on an away mission, that you're not coming back.
But all the
Alive,
colors
at least.
all the colors of shirts represent a different job, right? Or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like the
So
gold
what
is
does red
command.
shirt mean?
That is engineering, right?
In the original
Because
series,
Scotty wears red.
yeah, in the original series, red was engineering, gold was
So-
was command,
In next gen, it's command.
blue was science.
It's engineering where they just pull all people to die.
Well,
Because if I was assigned engineering, I'd be like, no, thank you.
it's usually security, like when you get into like the later series, and security wears gold though in the next gen, right?
Right.
So they
Wolf
changed the
wears
shirts up, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep track of. What is red is command and wait,
Yeah,
next gen
'cause
is red.
Picard
command?
wears red.
Yeah. So see, it doesn't apply to next gen.
Get it together.
But when you're watching the original series, there's always like tells.
Okay.
But what I loved his death scene though, because he dies after he gets beamed up, but then his mouth opens, and I thought that was a cool thing. And then like a voice comes out
A
of it.
scary voice.
A
Yeah.
scary
And,
voice.
He gets beamed up and he just literally falls over. And I was like, that was a good fall.
It's a great stunt.
Yeah.
Like
That man
he
hit
didn't
his
brace him.
head.
Yeah, he didn't brace himself at all. He just keeled over and like bam, knocked his head.
He might have CTE now, but what a
Yeah.
great fall it was.
I was
Crewman-
impressed by that. If
He's
it was
still
like a
alive.
stunt actor, yeah.
Crewman Jackson was played by J.D. Jones, and he also played a demon in the series Kung Fu. You remember Kung Fu with
Still with us on this
David
planet?
Carradine? Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Still
Yeah,
kicking.
even
He's a
after-
stunt. He is a stunt man.
That would be
Okay, so that makes sense because it was very impressive.
Yeah, he was also on The Man from Uncle.
Was that sincere at all? I was trying to make
Okay,
it.
and another question: how do they decide who gets to go down on the planet to explore?
The
Is it
away
all the way-
teams are put together by the captain or whoever's in charge of the mission.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe how
So-
seriously I'm answering this as if
The
it's
captain
real.
usually puts together the away teams. Depends
Yeah.
on what they
Well-
need to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering why. Is there a reason why they need beam down a doctor? Is it because somebody might be injured on the planet?
They
Sure.
always take a doctor. That's almost
Do they?
almost
Okay.
always there's a doctor. I would say Bones gets more leg work on away missions than anybody.
Well, Captain Kirk and Bones, they go on way
Yeah.
too many away missions for their rank.
They don't
You know what I
delegate
mean?
very much.
No, not at all. They don't
Yeah.
start. You don't start getting the delegation
Yeah.
until next gen, and then.
But
you're
is
like,
Bones-
okay.
Is Bones the only doctor on board? I can't imagine. Like, if he's the head
Yeah.
doctor, I don't think he should be going down.
I don't disagree with you. This seems
Yeah.
like poor personnel management, but nobody asks me.
Also, he carries like an old black doctor's bag, like a house call doctor would carry in the 50s.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
And-
adorable.
I assume Spock goes down on a lot of missions too.
He's the head science officer, so he has to be down there
Okay.
for science reasons. He
Spock
takes
Okay.
that's
Goes
why he's
down a lot?
You know, he's wearing that giant thing around his neck that looks like a
Yeah.
tape recorder. That's his tricorder
Yeah.
that takes readings, scientific readings of the planet,
Scientific.
so that they can study, you know, because their mission is exploration. They're just going. They're not a military group. They're going on these away missions to collect
They're
data.
explorers.
Yeah,
It just seems very dangerous, though.
it is very dangerous.
The
That's why they have
I mean, I was just
phasers.
saying that they're not doing very good recon. They just boom down on planets without really
they trust
researching
their
it.
instruments. They trust their instruments, but see what they didn't account on is an incredibly powerful set of aliens that can control minds and
Yes.
That spoiler alert are colorful little flowers.
yeah.
And I did like when they get down on this planet, the appearance of the witches. I thought that was pretty cool.
The
I love the
three
witches.
ghostly witches there to warn them to go away.
They're like Captain Kirk.
Yeah, it's very literary, which I guess makes sense with how the aliens are collecting information.
So like right now you've gotten the ghostly voice coming from the dead man's mouth where it says there's been a curse on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Then now you've got the three witches warning them to go away and telling them about the curse.
But Spock throws shade at him. He says it's very well. Kirk says Spock comment, and Spock is like very bad poetry, Captain. Oh,
It's a shady bitch.
and that's not what he was asking for. He said a more useful comment, and Spock says what we've just seen is not real. And
Yeah.
Kirk says that's useful.
Okay.
So we've set that ball in motion.
And then they come across this very forbidding looking castle.
It's very Universal Monsters.
Very, very, very.
Yeah.
All the tropes are here of a spooky movie, spooky time.
Yeah,
Ghosts and curse and
kind of a witchy character.
witchy characters and a castle. You get Black Cat later.
Korob is who you meet first, right?
Yeah.
Who?
No, you see the cat first.
Oh yeah.
A very well trained cat. I was impressed by his ability to go where
No man.
the
has gone
director
before.
wanted to. Yeah.
I like when later when it's the shadow of the
Space cat.
cat, you can see the cat's looking up at its trainer.
Oh.
It's not like stalk. You know, how a cat stalks is in a certain
Yeah.
position, but when it's supposed to, it turns up later as a giant cat. Spoiler. But like the shadow of it is. Sorry about that ding. Do
Every
not
show
disturb.
you say ding.
It's a do not
You
disturb.
say sorry about that ding, y'all.
If
Just
do not
assume
disturb
it.
is on. It's not working.
I'm so sorry.
That makes me mad. But regardless, Kitty Cat Shadow. If you watch, you'll see the cat's looking up at its trainer, waiting for a treat.
Well,
So
can't be perfect. I'm sorry.
perfect.
Oh my god. I'm
I
leaving
like
you.
they introduced Korob, the male alien who looks like Aleister Crowley, and I don't know if it has to be on purpose, right? All the eyeball and everything, like the look of him.
Sure.
He just kind of looks very Golden Dawny
Yeah. Do you think
ish.
It's a very spacey look. I feel I've seen that look in a lot of space movies. The bald man with the elaborate gold robe.
it
Is that where
a trope?
Is that where the tropes came from? Did Star Trek start these?
They're responsible for a lot of them, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not all
Space
of
show
them.
stuff.
Because if you go back and look at like This Island Earth might have even been before this.
Mm.
And they had kind of ridiculous costumes.
They were talking about Halloween and trick or treating as if it was still a thing in 2267. I looked up the year this was supposed to be. They were still talking about that. Made me happy. Halloween and trick or treating was still real. Although Spock had no idea what trick or treating was.
Well, he's smart, right? He knows a lot of things, so he
He's
knows about.
logical.
Yeah. So what happened? Is Earth still livable at this,
yeah.
at this time?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a
So-
fucking paradise, dude. It's a utopia.
Okay. So that makes sense that Halloween's still going on.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I was just happy to hear it. We get Korob and then we get his sister, and she's got a great wig on. Did you like that wig, Andy?
Yeah, it was very big. I like big wigs,
All the hair.
except for CEOs.
They took her straight hair and just like sprayed it up.
And she turned into several different kinds of women to tempt Kirk.
Yeah.
Doesn't
take much.
My favorite one was the first one she turned into with that colorful jumpsuit.
Yeah, and she did a little shake, little weird little dance in it. Yeah.
And also, she said, "I am a woman now," because they could become any form. So, do their species do not have like gender or sex?
They encounter many alien races in all the Star Treks that come with that are non-binary.
Now, Antoinette Bauer, I was just gonna say real quick, who plays that character? She was in Prom Night, the original Prom Night, as Mrs. Hammond.
Not Mary Lou.
No.
Boo.
But I just found that very progressive. I've thought that they can become whatever they want and have desires for anything, really.
Yeah, they're extraordinarily powerful. This brother and sister set of aliens. They appear human.
Yeah,
but they're not, and they have telepathy and mind control, and I guess I'm struggling with what I want to say.
That despite the fact that they're just these little plants.
They're tiny little plant. They look like fuzzy little like pipe cleaner plants.
And they just die at the end.
They just curled up and died.
Yeah, so Kirk and Spock and Bones are trapped in the dungeon throughout a lot of this episode. And
while Sulu and Scotty are controlled into keeping them prisoner.
So you're not even getting any real Scotty or Sulu performances in this either. You're getting the weird silent controlled versions of them. So that's why it's a weird first episode of the original series to watch, because their personalities are kind of suppressed through most of the episode.
Yeah.
And that's really the best thing about it.
Well, I was also confused about what the aliens really wanted. Why did they kidnap these people? And they just wanted the information, right?
I think they just wanted to pick the humans' brains because they liked the idea of being human like humans were.
Yes, and they want to experience new sensations.
Yeah.
But
new sensations.
Why did they choose to make their illusions as the Gothic castle and the scary stuff?
They're pulling it from what they know about the Earth culture and from the memories of Kirk and Bones.
Yeah, I know
Why
that, but why not
stuff?
something? Yeah, why spooky? Why not something pleasant and more like luxurious and something that is more inviting?
Why they want them to be scared?
Yeah. Maybe
Did they even address that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I'll see if I
not
can
in my
find out
notes.
for you if you guys keep.
Because at some point the sister says that I can make anything you want, and you can stay with me, and just experience new sensations. But if you want them to stay there, why would you try to scare them away?
Maybe initially they wanted to scare them away because they didn't want them to be bothered. But then that doesn't. I don't remember. I don't think the show does a good job of exactly explaining all of that, which is fine.
But they do give Kirk a magic wand. That's kind of fun. And the way he jumps around with it and everything is like.
Do you remember
precious
Kirk trying to pronounce the word telekinesis?
Oh, that was funny.
And instead he said like telekinesis or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? That made me laugh so hard.
Well, maybe language has evolved in the future.
Somebody should have caught that. I don't care if that's the real pronunciation. You can come at me and be like, well, Amy, and like push up your glasses. But I don't care. That's not how we do it. That's not how we
and
say
also,
it.
I feel like the episode resolved itself really easily.
Yes.
All they had to do was smash that little transmuter and
the wand.
Everything went away. And the wand. And those poor little aliens just shriveled up and died.
Shriveled up and died.
Yeah.
While the whole crew is down, on this planet dealing with these powerful aliens, upstairs on the Enterprise, the crew is, sort of pawns in whatever the aliens are doing, and they get caught up in a force field because that's what the aliens put them in. Anyway, I'm doing a bad job of using my words, but you get it. But the guy who's standing in, who's the head bitch in charge of the Enterprise while the captain's gone, He says the line, bet you credits to Navy beans.
Credits to Navy beans.
Like dollars to donuts. He said credits to Navy beans. And that made me laugh.
I went through a bunch of the dialogue from this episode just to see if I could suss out their motivation. It's as simple as I think they wanted to study humans.
Humans are so fucking fascinating. We are such special little snowflakes in Star Trek because everywhere we go, oh, you humans.
They have heart. It's always that, and that's usually the thing. It's always like some species is like, they may be really dumb. Sometimes they scratch at their buttholes and then sniff their fingers, but they have the biggest hearts of any species I've met in this galaxy.
That's very specious, isn't it? That we're at the top of the food chain in terms of humanity.
But we're not. The Vulcans are kind of above us.
Okay.
In Star Trek, at least.
Well, there's a reason why most of the aliens you meet are humanoid.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Very human focused show, but to be fair,
Racist.
it's the only life forms we know of as of now.
And the stand-in captain, DeSalle, is that his name?
Yes. Credits
Has
to Navy
he-
beans. That's him.
Yeah, I guess the economy has evolved a lot in
Yes, there is
200
no money
years.
anymore.
It's all Navy beans.
Well, they don't even have credits in Next Gen, really, right?
No, there's like nothing.
Yeah.
There's no
They don't
currency.
explain it either.
Yeah. But does this captain show up a lot? Is
No,
he the
I've
de
never seen this man
facto-
before.
Okay.
Was he
So they
DeSalle?
just
Yeah. No.
they just throw in some standing captains every now and then.
well, sure.
when-
There's a lot of people on this ship. There's like hundreds of people on the ship. So, it stands to reason you're going to run into somebody you've never seen before.
Yeah, but I feel like there should just be a ladder of power where like Kirk goes down and there should always be a number 2 in charge.
Well,
Well,
number
there
2 is number 1, and that would be Spock.
Spock's is number
But
1.
he's with him.
DeSalle appears in 3 episodes.
Okay.
So are we to assume that DeSalle's number 3?
He's not, though, because I think number 3 would be like
Well,
Bones or
Sulu's given
Sulu.
command at some points.
or Scotty or
Whatever works for the episode.
all of the like top dudes are on this fucking planet. It is bad personnel management.
Yes.
Um,
They need a better HR or something.
they need to understand that this isn't smart. You don't put your best people off the ship to get killed.
Dude,
or kidnapped.
Michael Barrier, who played Captain LaSalle, just passed away in February
Oh, R.I.P. sir.
at 90 years old.
Damn, good for you.
No, good for him. And also, yesterday Freddy texted us like Chekhov's hair.
Oh, so bad.
That wig.
It's very wiggy. It's very like Beatles, monkeys hair.
It's terrible.
They put him in Chekhov in this horrible Party City wig.
Yeah.
It's not great. There has to be a reason.
Yeah, he was growing
was
his hair
like-
out.
He's growing his hair
Yeah.
out.
That explains why it was like floating a couple inches off his head.
Yeah.
The wig industry hadn't quite worked the miracles they work today.
He had to be embarrassed.
Oh yeah, it's terrible, and it's forever enshrined. You know,
And it's one of the best parts of the episode because you go, damn, look at that wig.
the lady alien really wants to smash with Kirk because
Yeah.
she's like, "Ooh, that sounds like a new sensation,"
Yeah.
and he's like faking her out a little, so he distracts her by trying to eat her whole face off. I mean, make out with her, but try to eat her whole face off.
Yeah, he's like extracting information from her while she's, jumping his bones.
He's seducing her,
Bones.
but little does she know.
It is hilarious. There's the scene when they're chained up in the dungeon and he says bones and there's bones in the foreground. Comedy.
Don't let her touch the wand, Captain.
Great line. No notes. The wand looks
Yeah.
like Bob Barker's old microphone from The Price is
But
Right.
like with a little
Yeah,
globe
a
A
on it.
bigger, microphone. But all he needs is a super long cord.
Yeah, it's a super fairy princess kind of wand.
It is.
It just doesn't jive with a lot of the rest of the imagery they've generated
Yeah.
in this universe.
And I feel they should have made a transmuter that is more sturdy.
Yeah.
If you know your life force and your power is all wrapped up in that one tiny little wand,
Right.
make it harder to break.
Out of
Yes.
stronger stuff in general.
They did it with the iPhone. They finally figured it out. I know that you can too, aliens, with your transmuter.
Yeah, because Kurt just smashes it and against the table or something, and boom, everything's gone, and those poor little cute flowers just shrivel away.
You know the sounds they're making? I don't know if you read the trivia, but those were the sounds baby alligators make when they hatch. Call for their mom.
That's
Isn't that
cute.
cute. I thought so.
Isn't
too.
that darling?
Adorable?
But we're to assume that there's more of these because these aliens, because they're talking about the old ones, and they have another, like more of them out there. So I think
There's probably like a home planet, and then these guys are out exploring too, just like the Enterprise.
They had an adorable little ship, probably parked somewhere out there.
It's very little.
Yeah.
Oh,
But the transmuter is like 3 times the size of these little plant people. How do they wield it?
Well, you only got to see it in that form, though. You saw it in the way they wanted you to see it because they hadn't been killed yet.
I know, but I'm saying like in the original form, they have to use the transmuter somehow.
Yeah, it's probably something itty bitty little thing. It's like a Bic lighter.
Oh, so even the transmuter was a illusion.
Everything was.
Okay.
Yeah.
didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. They were only seeing the things that the plants were putting in their heads.
All right.
Which is kind of silly that they wouldn't hide that wand better. Make it look like a toaster or something. That
At least get an outer box for it. Something.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Cat's Paw?
Meow.
No, it was a fun episode. I liked it.
Oldie but a goodie. It was fun to revisit for sure.
Yeah.
Such a weird one.
I always love watching my friends on Star Trek.
The original series is just pure comfort food. I mean,
I feel that way about Next Gen.
It's true. Yeah, Next Gen too. They always just
And Deep Space Nine. And
Deep Space Nine is fun
Voyager
to watch, but
and
I don't
Enterprise and
know.
I'll watch it all.
The warm and fuzzies. I don't get the same that I get from original series and Next Gen with any of the other series, where it's just generally the idea of it's put yourself under a blanket TV.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. Over the Garden Wall fits with that too. I think that show is incredibly cozy. Andy picked chapter 2, Hard Times at the Huskin Bee, which this is like kind of serialized, right? The show.
Yeah, it's I watched the whole thing yesterday, so I can get an idea of what this series is about. And it's just about 2 brothers trying to get find their way home, and they just encounter different fun characters. And this is episode 2. They just come across Potter's Field,
Pottsfield?
Wasn't
or
Because
yeah.
Potter's
something.
Field is something different. That's where indigent people get buried.
Was it the pasture? The good woman of the woods?
Anyway.
No, that's who the bird offered.
That's
to
who
take them
they're
to.
going to go to, but
Yeah.
instead they get sidetracked and end up
They'd
where-
rather go to Pottsfield. I
Pottsfield.
think it was Pottsfield.
where the
Yeah.
where the weird jack-o'-lantern, midsummer, Wicker Man-esque kind of people live.
Yeah, and this episode really doesn't have anything to do with the. Maybe it does have something to do with the overarching story, but I thought it was just a cute side adventure.
Yeah, there was nothing that was confusing about it. It works
They
as its own
walked
thing.
to Pottsfield, and when they get there, there's nothing there until they get to the barn, right?
Your memory's
Yeah.
better than mine.
And then they find the pumpkins in there having their fucking square dance. They're do-si-doing. They're doing stuff.
Yeah, and
They're having a great
They
time.
tell them that they're there
They're
too
all just a
soon.
bunch of pumpkins.
They're like, you're here too soon. You're not. What was the other part? That they weren't ready for it or weren't dressed for it.
They weren't ready for
To
it.
to the 2 human boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were confused about their outfits because, spoiler alert, turns out everybody underneath the pumpkins is a skeleton.
It's so great. It's just Halloween imagery on top of Halloween
Skeletons
imagery.
wearing pumpkins and corn husks.
Yeah.
So I guess this is after people die, they go to Potter's Field and
Pottsfield.
become pumpkin people.
I guess so.
It looks that way.
Yeah.
I wonder if everybody in this world, is that where everybody
Yeah.
goes? They all go to the barn dance.
They go to the barn dance, and while they're there, there's pumpkins in there carving pumpkin heads. And at first, you're like, weird, pumpkin carving pumpkin.
But then you're just
But then
like,
you're realizing they're
Yeah,
making
they're
heads
just-
for their friends that are going to be there soon. Their skeleton friends, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah. So I guess after all your flesh has rotted off you, you become a skeleton. That's when you go to Pottsfield.
And that's
The
why they
true
were telling them
next.
they weren't ready yet because
Right.
they
Yeah.
still had meat on their bones.
Fleshy.
And
Ooh,
also,
that's creepy when you think about
it
it.
is creepy. Well, they even present it like when you first meet these characters. There's these weird moments that you don't see in a lot of animated shows, at least not, ones that are kind of family friendly like this. There's this darkness in this moment where one of those pumpkin people just stares at them, and they let it hang, and they even put a little bit in the score to cue like a horror movie cue.
Well, it's like all the pumpkins. A lot of them don't have like expressions. They're just the round, hollow eyes with just a mouth that's not smiling. It's just very flat.
Ooh, when they talk and the mouth
Yeah.
doesn't move because it's a pumpkin.
Yeah,
That's sort of creepy.
and
too.
they all sound like they've been slightly sedated. Like all the pumpkin people are super chill.
Yeah,
And that's kind of
well,
creepy
I would be chill
too.
too. If that was my life, just dancing around a big maypole, I'll be fine with that.
It could be. It could be. I've offered you that.
I did start to cars this a little, and I gotta stop because it's not necessary to try to apply any sort of rationality to the world of pumpkin people that are really skeletons in pumpkin costumes. Amy, you can't sit there and try to Lightning McQueen your way through, but how do the cars reproduce? I'm starting to think about like how do the skeletons always wear the pumpkin costumes, or is it only at certain times? Does it get messy? Does it rot? Do they have to get new heads? Where do they get the new heads
there was an old rotted pumpkin head.
from? There was.
There was like an old man. He had like an old man voice. But maybe, yeah, like hypothetically, let's say you die as a child. Do you have like a tiny little pumpkin head?
Probably.
And can you change your pumpkin heads?
I think you can because that's if they can just sit and carve them up, get them
Yeah.
ready, then they can change them out. These are the things
So
And I feel
that
there
I
should
spent time
be
thinking about.
there should have been a lot more people there too. That if that's where all the old dead people go.
they're like Calvinists. Only so many people get
Unless
in.
there's
Yeah.
these little towns all over.
The instrumental song they're playing is from another, I guess, episode in the series, the Come Wayward Souls. Do you remember this, Andy? You said you just
Yeah.
watched the whole show. The lyrics are "Come wayward souls that wander through the darkness. There is a light for the lost and the meek. Sorrow and fear are easily forgotten when you submit to the soil of the earth."
Jesus.
That's creepy.
But the way they sang
Submit.
it was very like pleasant though.
It's
Even
to
though the
"Oh Holy
lyrics-
Night."
Yeah,
It's similar
Why
to
were
that.
they sentenced to hard labor?
because they smashed the pumpkins by accident.
That's right. They accidentally smashed that pumpkin. So they're sentenced to hard labor, a few hours hard labor.
Yeah, but all they had to do was shuck some corn and dig some holes.
But they think they're
Which-
digging their own graves.
Yeah. But the graves actually, they were just digging up the skeletons of the people that were coming to.
They were just digging their friends up, helping them.
Yeah.
Andy, who is the beast?
It's a big metaphor for something. I didn't really understand the end.
Okay, the beast is
Uh,
in the rest of the series is, I guess, an important. Is it
Yeah.
a character?
It's kind of like a metaphor for something, your fears and your
Uh-huh.
insecurities.
Oh, okay.
That was the only thing I can say I can criticize about the show. Everything else was like super cute and super charming and whimsical. But the end, it was kind of muddled for me. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I
You're
just
not
needed
dumb.
something more spoon fed to me.
Do you mean the end of the series or the episode?
Yeah,
Serious.
the series. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And also, I was confused about what it's. I don't want to spoil it, but everything represents. And I was wondering at the end who Beatrice represented and
Oh,
who
okay. So you were
the
dumped into
woodsman represented.
symbols
Yeah.
land.
Yeah, that because at the end, it's a big reveal that. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but it's not exactly what it seems.
I think I need to sit down and watch it. You could watch this whole series in a couple hours, right? It's only like
No, it's
11
there's
episodes?
10 episodes, and each episode is only like 12 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So it's like a movie length, basically.
Yeah.
Huh.
Check it out. I really love this.
Elijah
I-
Wood,
it's
right?
Great. Yeah.
Doing the voice.
Yeah, and Melanie Linsky is Beatrice,
Oh, the bird.
bluebird. Yeah,
Oh, I thought I recognized that voice. And I
yeah. It's got a
did.
lot of actors that make appearances
Yeah.
throughout the series. Yeah, it's super cozy. It's perfect fall. I don't feel it would hit the same if you watched this during summer.
What if you watched it on a warm, sunny spring day? That would be weird too, right?
As long as it's a little bit chilly outside.
Oh, okay. You gotta have a little bit of chili. What if
Yeah.
I'm eating some chili, but it's 90 degrees outside?
Why would you want to eat hot chili on a 90-degree day?
I don't know, because there's always time for Skyline. It's always Skyline time.
Yeah, but it's not hot though. It's not hearty like chili is. Anyway, yeah, first time watch for me, and I really liked it. I think it might be just a yearly thing, revisit. I like that much.
Oh. Did it have Halloweeny vibes throughout, or was it just a couple of episodes here and there?
It is how the Halloweeny vibes are out. Another spoiler alert, but it ends during Halloween.
Okay.
And also,
So-
like when you look online, like this is kind of like Andy was saying, some people do watch this every year around Halloween. It's become kind of associated with Halloween.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Although I looked it up, and apparently it aired originally during like the first week of November, which is like bad marketing. Cartoon Network.
It's a little late. Like the Simpsons used to do that all the time too. You'd get their
Did they?
Halloween special
Oh,
in November. Yeah.
Well, because they usually had to contend with the World Series.
The World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Andy, those are some good ones. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're next. So what do you have on the table on the
Mine's easy.
agenda?
Friday the 13th, the series. The episode is called Halloween, I believe, and then Freddy's Nightmares, Freddy's Tricks and Treats.
Two great tastes. Tastes
It's
great.
a Freddy
together.
happy. It's a Freddy heavy episode.
Yeah, you're gonna get double Freddy's.
We rewatched these two series. I had never seen them. I watched these two series over the last couple of years. They're a pretty good time.
They're a lot of fun.
Interested to go back.
Super cheap,
Yeah.
but a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And a lot of weird shit. Super weird choices. We were going to talk about the algorithm. We try to bring fresher stuff in usually during this, but
But
So are you guys watching stuff beyond the Halloween movies? You guys are
yes,
doing?
Andy. Do you want to know what the algorithm served up to me via somebody telling me that it was on a streaming service? The Drew Carey Show.
I said right after I was like, we found some fresher stuff when the algorithm made me bring.
I bet they have. I bet they have good Halloween episodes.
I haven't gotten there yet since I'm starting from the beginning. And I'm only like 4 or 5 episodes in, but it is fresher than Star Trek, my love.
Mimi is in a Halloween episode every week.
Yeah.
I am so far pleasantly surprised. I feel like it still holds up a little bit. I'm still
It's fun.
laughing.
Yeah, the pilot was weird to watch. I love shows that you're really familiar with. If you go back and watch the pilots and you see them trying stuff out, it kind of like that you could see the seams on some of the stuff, but it was mostly the way you remember it, right from go. Even Mimi, she turns up in the first episode, and she feels like kind of a late because she's so over the top compared to the rest of the characters.
I just want him to stop leaning on his stand-up bits, and I'm sure that'll go away after a little bit.
Well, that was part of it for me too. It was real obvious in the pilot.
I'm like, I've seen you do this bit.
And when he did the bit, Drew Carey would change like who he was addressing, kind of his body language would change a little bit.
Because he was going right back to being on stage. You can just tell.
Yeah, they work him into the show a lot better. Seinfeld was really guilty of that a lot too.
And I guess, they thought they could get away with it back then because, people didn't have easy access to every stand-up set.
Yeah.
That, the way we do now.
Work his jokes in those episodes.
Well, the early seasons of Seinfeld, like between like interstitials, they had the actual bits from his stand-up as opposed to him trying to work it into the show.
Yeah. But then he would also do jokes from his bit in the show too. It was always awkward though when they do that shit.
You know what I want to watch next? Oh, I wonder if Grace Under Fire is anywhere.
Oh, I'm sure
Speaking
it
of
is.
comedians.
She's
with their shows.
Brett Butler has one of the more interesting showbiz stories. I caught a new series. It's brand new. It's only been 2 episodes in, called The Franchise on Max. And it's like the people who did Veep and Avenue 5. And it's about a bunch of people making a superhero movie. It's a comedy. It's really fun. It's like 30-minute episodes. And it's a lot of what you expect, like big personalities and celebrities with weird demands. It's a lot like if you've watched shows like Extras, a lot like that. It's a really good time.
Loved Veep. Avenue 5, I could take or leave.
Really, I loved Avenue 5.
It didn't.
So who's in franchise?
Richard Grant. You're gonna see people who were in those other, like, people you'll recognize from both Veep and Avenue 5. A lot of I don't know if there's anybody in there, but big names that you would know besides Richard Grant.
He was in Spice World, right?
Yeah, he was their manager, wasn't he?
I don't remember. I should go back and watch that.
Well, Andy, you might know some of these people that I don't know. Himesh Patel's in it. He's the lead, and he was on Avenue 5. He's really great. He was the stand-up comedian on Avenue 5. And then Aya Cash, who was on The Boys. She played Stormfront.
Oh, yeah. She was in that one horror movie. You know.
Yeah, the one you didn't like.
Yeah. It's about storytelling
Scare
or something.
Me or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
See, I really like that
The
movie.
conversation you two were just having without anybody else being able to understand what you're talking about was very funny.
Aya Cash. Yeah, it was the movie she made called Scare Me, which Andy and I are split on. So
Yes.
you should watch it, Amy, and
Yeah.
be a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Jessica Hines is in it, and you'll know her from Spaced and Shaun of the Dead. She was Daisy on Spaced
And,
Oh, okay.
and from the ketchup.
and from the Ketchup.
Hines.
But yeah, excellent show.
Yeah.
Has a lot of potential.
So can I talk about what I watched?
Yeah, go for it,
You
man.
guys, if you guys don't have anything else, well, I've just been watching my Halloween movies, but I want to bring up a little bit Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
Me and our buddy Branan saw that on Thursday. It was fine, but the scariest thing I saw during the movie was the fact that these people bought their kids to see
God damn
Terrifier
it.
3.
Really?
What the fuck,
Like
man?
how old?
They couldn't have been more than 10 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
That is
not for
fucking
kids.
childish.
like, I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids.
Oh,
You
I am.
obviously know your kids better than I do.
No, they don't.
And for me, I don't want to sound like a stick in the mud or a prude, but I just feel
I
that's a
love
little
sounding like that in this
a
case.
You
bridge
love
too
sounding like
far.
that? No,
I
I agree
like-
with you.
Not even a bridge too far. It's,
Yeah.
It's almost in my mind fucking CPS coming to your house.
Yes.
Terrifying.
I told Brandon, like, we should remember those kids because we'll probably be seeing them on TV
On the news.
soon.
Yeah.
And listen, this is very near and dear to my heart because I saw movies I shouldn't have at a young age when I was at a babysitter's house, and it fucked me up for a long time.
Yes, and here's the thing. I think we all have seen horror movies
Yeah.
earlier than we should have, but nothing like Terrifier.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's,
Yeah.
To that level.
It's
of
a
gore.
depraved set of movies, and I enjoy
it's-
them, but I'm old enough to handle
Yeah,
it.
well, it's not the gore that bothers me. It's the brutality and the meanness involved. The fact, like at this point, that's you watch Terrifier for the kills and how far Art the Clown will go. And it's not just that the fact that he kills people brutally, it's the fact that the deaths go on forever and ever, and they're still alive for most of the part of it.
Right.
And and you can see people suffer. That's the part that I feel is a little too far, where I feel a lot of the horror movies you watch growing up, like a kill happens and they're just gone.
Yeah. It was swift. That was kind of
Yeah.
key to early, like 80s slashers. It was over in an instant, you know?
Yeah. But the Terrifier series, the deaths and the torture and the brutality just go on and on and on. And it's kind of like a signature of his right now, where there's like a lot of things that happen to the face, but you still see the other eye blinking.
Oh, yeah.
That happens a couple of times in like Terrifier 2 and this movie, Terrifier 3 too. So yeah, that's it was the kids in the movie that bothered me more than the gore, because the gore I can take because it's so over the top that I can't take
Right.
it seriously.
You don't want
Yeah.
the implications. You can't
And you're
take.
an adult, and
Yeah.
you can discern real life from fakery.
Yeah. It just
Kids
reminds me of
have
that
a harder time
Hostel
with that.
too.
Yeah, when we went
Yeah.
and saw that, those
Yeah.
fucking kids in there
Yeah, but-
freaking out.
Yeah, those were toddlers though, and that's even worse than
Yeah.
Even worse.
10-year-olds seeing Terrifier 3. So
Yeah. Did the kids the kids make any?
no, they didn't say like
Yeah.
like I couldn't see them from where we were sitting, but like
So
I
they're
didn't see them.
quiet.
They're jaded.
Sat there and watched.
They've
it.
seen
Yeah.
a Serbian film.
They've
They're
probably
fine.
seen everything.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've seen Terrifier 1 and 2 if they're going into Terrifier 3.
Otherwise, they'd be confused.
They recommend
Yeah.
martyrs to kids on the playground. They're cool kids.
Oops.
They're
Yeah.
fine.
Well, it's like I feel they have to see. They would definitely be confused because they're trying to expand the lore of Art the Clown and beyond just the kills, and I feel it is kind of forced, and they're just trying to drag the series on just so we can see more kills.
Can I tell you though, in the second one, when he started doing stuff that, like, he was going places, it was so refreshing to me that it wasn't just about the gore.
Yeah,
In the second one, like if you haven't seen any of them, I don't want to spoil it, but there's elements brought into it that are just totally not consistent with the first movie as far as genre. Like there's some other genres kind of were allowed to bleed in, and that was really refreshing. That's one of the reasons I want to see 3 is because part 2 was so much different than the first one.
yeah. But I just feel they're taking their sweet time expanding the lore because they just give you little seeds,
Yeah,
and it's still about just the kills at this point.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's just really cool that it was #1 at the box office
That's
this
wild,
weekend.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that a movie like this can kind of go mainstream.
I love all
And-
the Christmassy look to it.
Yeah, I feel like every series is gonna feel like Christmas and horror. Woo! What a crazy combo! It's that type of thing,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you
It-
didn't get that with like, if they were Christmas and horror before, it was like, yeah, Christmas and horror. It was part of it from Go, like Silent Night, Deadly Night. You know, like
if it's like
Black Christmas.
if it's about like integral to the story, but this just seems kind of tacked on.
Right. But they
I
never
guess,
never
yeah.
did that with a night. You never got a Christmassy Freddy Krueger or a Christmassy Jason movie, you know?
Yeah,
That's true. You never did.
I mean, you did Child's Play because he's a toy.
Well, yeah, he's a toy. That makes sense.
But yeah, it's
Are you listening? Whoever owns the rights to
Oh, Andy. I think
Krugy?
Andy froze for a second.
Krugy?
Oh, there he is.
Little
Yeah.
Kruger. Let's do a Christmas episode of installment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
Nightmare.
counting Freddy's Nightmares. I'm pretty sure they did a Christmas one somewhere
sure.
along the line.
I'm sure.
I can't remember though.
Yeah.
But movies, yeah. They should have a Thanksgiving with Art the Clown next.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
To hear.
let's do all the holidays.
Do all
Anyway,
of them.
so I'm back. So that's my feelings about Terrifier.
All
It's
right.
fine. But I would definitely watch more just to see where it is going. But it's not at the top of my list of great series and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's surprising to me that anybody can come out with a slasher movie where a clown is the killer and that I'm interested at all. You know what I mean? Like if you just wrote down on paper what Terrifier is, it's nothing I want, you know? It's like, it's literally like, it's not anything I would ask for at this point as a film goer. Like I like
First, $1 billion.
I like my quiet English horror stories with
Yeah.
ghosts and goblins.
Something cozy.
cozy.
Yes.
But then,
Yeah.
and I don't like
The ass fix.
violence for violence sake or gore for gore's sake, but I didn't feel that way with even as
Yeah.
gross and over the top as they were. The Terrifier movies still there's something there that makes me
I think for me it's Art the Clown just because he's a fun
Performance.
character. Yeah.
performance.
Great
is
And also
performance.
the artistry behind the gore is really so well done, I think.
yeah, it looks planned.
Great effects.
Yeah.
Good blood. You know
And by
what I'm
planned, I
saying?
mean shot compositions are there
Right. I
that
mean,
aren't
obviously
in a
they
lot of
planned
other
it.
movies.
They didn't just accidentally film this movie.
Right. Well, you know, in some gore scenes, they don't give a
Might be
fuck.
crazy if they did.
They're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, what's this on my phone? Oh my God, it's an entire movie. I'll post this on
Like,
the
we
internet.
Yeah, we should save this. Don't delete.
Don't hit delete.
We just watched The Curse of Frankenstein as part of our 31 for 31, speaking of English, cozy movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a little bastard Frankenstein is in that movie.
Yeah, Peter Cushing, one of the more evil
He's
Dr.
an
Frankensteins.
asshole.
Have you seen it, Andy?
Not that Dr.
No.
Frankenstein is like normally like a paragon of fun times, but I'll tell you what,
It's fun. I think you'd like it. It's
Christopher Lee is creepy.
Yeah, Christopher Lee's the monster, and he doesn't have any dialogue, which is wild.
Yeah.
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 Considering. Well, it looks
Yeah.
like Andy may have frozen again.
We have lost Andy.
So maybe it's time to read off those patrons. Do I have it?
You have the list. Freddy, give me that list. At the end of every show, we say hi to our Beelzebubs. Our Beelzebubs are the folks that have signed up on our Patreon to become such thing. These are all these words.
Excuse
bless
me.
you, together make sense. It's not you. I mean, it's you, not me. Patreon.com/NOTLP if you're interested. Matt, Branan and Emily, Jeffel, Iona Goodwin.
That one a great one. I was just telling
I know.
Andy said to finish without him since he
I
got
know.
disconnected.
Okay. Dr. Brian, Old Dirty Billsterd, Bill Fahrner, Blayne Yogurt, Jordache Jeans, Monica, Jeremy, Cassie, Gamora, Ernest, Dave, and Paul. Those are our babies.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
We
so
appreciate you.
much.
Tune in next week for Freddy's Nightmares.
Oh my God. it's so
Friday the
scary.
13th.
Bye.
Frankenstein was wondering if he should go to bed when his old buddy